Top of the morning. Welcome to the Sports Carnival, broadcasting live from the Trauma Center studios. Dave and Matt in here with you this morning. Hope you guys and gals are off to a really good start here on what has turned out to be a very, very snowy day in the state of Wisconsin. Maddie, I was hopeful that last night we would actually have seen this snow sort of pass us by. No such luck. We ended up getting quite a bit of snow, and if the reports are true, we'll end up seeing quite a bit more snow actually coming up today. But needless to say, we're here on a very good Wednesday morning. Mike Schmidt, who was supposed to join us today, unfortunately won't be able to be with the program. He is feeling a bit under the weather. But Matt, you and I, we have got a lot of ground to cover today here on the Sports Carnival. We have got football talk. We have got baseball talk. We don't have any basketball talk, well, because the NBA is not going to be here until tomorrow. We might talk a little college basketball, but we've got a whole bunch of stuff to cover, and we'd love to hear from our audience members. Again, if you're watching us or listening to us on YouTube, on LinkedIn, on Twitter, on Twitch, on Facebook, or the Facebook group page, and you want to jump in, we'd love to see your name pop up. I see Mike Byers already up and at it this morning, as well as Rob Dog out there from Stoddard. We've also got something interesting that we're going to proposition our audience members with. We attempted to do this last XFL season, and for a number of different reasons, it didn't end up panning out. But we're going to get our audience members to tell us if they want to be in an XFL, not necessarily a fantasy league, but like a keeper league, to see who wins this XFL championship. The XFL comes back on Thursday. I'm really kind of, at this point in time, I'm kind of getting excited about the XFL because football goes away. We find ourselves in a little bit of palatable depression. And now with the XFL, we can continue to kick this football can down the road. The fucking USFL will kick off in April. So this is a good time to be a football fan.
Well, and the USFL actually got it started yesterday. They pulled off their draft, which was kind of entertaining. I was able to go through that a little bit to see where some of these kids came out of. Some decent names out there, some kids that might not make it in the NFL. It'll be fun to watch. I'm just saying, for everybody driving out there today, hopefully you're not texting and driving at the same time. You know, keep your eyes on the road, and hopefully have a good show and entertain some people today.
Yeah, you know, if you want to text and drive the program, I'll say this: just don't do it and drink at the same time. Wisconsin folks are pretty good about doing multitasking type of.
Hold my beer. Watch this.
Well, exactly. Road sodas, as we call them here in Wisconsin. Road sodas. But I agree with you. If you're actually driving, which sucks for you, then pull over to the side of the road before you get sideswiped and send us a message. Again, you can send us messages on our Facebook group page, on our YouTube feed, as well as our Twitch feed. Jason P1 Breacher already up and at it and saying he is in for the XFL Keeper League. Jason, I bet you would love to be assigned the Seattle Dragons. This would be a random assignment of teams, okay? Because we can't have you all picking the same team. But if you want in, and Jason, I'm already marking you down. We got Breacher in this thing.
You showed me the jersey, so it makes a lot of sense.
It's fantastic.
Yep.
Fantastic. It looks like a Bears jersey, though.
It does.
It really does. The color scheme looks like a Bears jersey. By the way, the Seattle Dragons will be back in action this upcoming Thursday. We've already got numbers for this particular game. The total is sitting at 36.5 between Seattle and St. Louis, the Battlehawks. The Vegas Vipers DC Defenders will kick off on Saturday. And then on Sunday, you've got the Orlando Guardians, not to be confused with the Cleveland Guardians, the San Antonio Brahmas, and then you've got the Houston Roughnecks and Arlington Renegades coming up on Sunday. I didn't get a chance to give the XFL a full view over the weekend. This weekend, I think I'm going to be able to give it that chance. Now, the Thursday night kickoff, I think, is really, really cool. I didn't know they were going to be doing Thursday night games, so I think that's really awesome. I'll be excited to see what the Vegas home crowd looks like as well. From what I understand, Vegas, the Vipers are going to play at Cashman Field, which was, for many, many years, the home of the AAA baseball team in Las Vegas. Now, a former friend of mine, Steve Mack, who owned the baseball team at the time, ended up getting that new stadium built. Matt, I don't know if you've heard about this, but the Vegas Stadium now, where the Aviators play their AAA baseball, got voted the best AAA stadium in America and actually outdrew the Oakland Athletics for opening day last year. If you can fucking wrap your mind around that. The Vegas Aviators outdrew the Oakland Athletics on opening day. There is a pool out there. This stadium, listen, when we go to Vegas in March, April, we're going to take a look at this thing.
Well,
we're going to go see this baby because it looks awesome.
Well, when we first started about bringing up the XFL, and I was bringing up Vegas because obviously you're been there, familiar with, born or lived there for extended period. You're telling me how great the stadium is, how beautiful it is, and unfortunately, obviously, the Oakland Athletics are absolutely fucking horrible.
Yes.
So I'm very excited to see the stadium. I think the XFL came out and actually put on a very good product for what they did. The turnout on Saturday was not as good as the turnout on Sunday. Unfortunately for Breacher, their starting quarterback is Ben DiNucci. Ben DiNucci. I don't know if
I remember Ben DiNucci.
Yeah. Oh,
he had a cup of coffee in the NFL.
Cup of coffee, did not have a good Saturday. I'm looking for it overall. Obviously, I think this having the having XFL after the NFL is going to be great. We'll see what happens with the USFL. I think XFL is going to be driven obviously by Vegas is going to help it keep it going. There is some very good kids, like you said, in there that did have a cup of coffee in the NFL, so there is some talent there. We talked a little bit about it with me, or we're going to try to get into it later, obviously next week, because we can't get into it about some teams getting in there. Maybe kids from like UWL, other schools might be able to get into the USFL eventually, because the talent is primarily going to the XFL and not into the NFL. So we'll see how it goes with the XFL this year. Obviously, no COVID. We'll see what happens. And The Rock seems to have a very good amicable divorce going on with his business partner, since it's his ex-wife. So they seem to have some good backing, and they seem to have their shit together.
Well, they've definitely got good backs. I don't know about backing, but they've got great backs. I've seen The Rock's back, and if that's his ex-wife, this chick is in amazing shape too. So very good backs and very strong backs. Look, the XFL will be driven. I think Vegas helps this. It's going to be driven by TV. If people watch it on TV, then it's going to work. If it doesn't work on television, ultimately this thing won't work, which is why the product itself and some of the things that we've seen, Matt Janis was on the program with us yesterday, UW head football coach, and mentioned he liked a lot of what he saw from the XFL, the production of the game itself, the quality of play. If that holds the interest of an audience member, at least to the tune of about 1 million to 1.5 million viewers per week, the XFL should be okay. And the reason I say 1 million to 1.5 million, the USFL and XFL got about 1.1 to 1.3 million viewers in their first couple of weeks over the last 2 seasons, okay? That's about what an NHL hockey game gets on an average night in America. Not huge, to be sure, but good enough to keep the television product sort of churning, get enough sponsorships of that television program to work out. Ultimately, it's, again, I hate to say it like this, but it's going to break down to just eyeballs on TV, because in stadium won't make the XFL any money. They don't own the stadiums. They don't own concessions. So the owners aren't going to make money, and the XFL won't make money from the stadium. But if the TV product works and the TV product then sells merchandise, the merchandise like Jason P1 Breacher has, that'll start to keep this thing, afloat for some time. But it's going to be a while before they get like local sponsors to jump on board. Those things will take time. Trust me, this is one of those types of situations where the people with money are like, yeah, prove it to me. I need to see this thing work for a couple of years before I start putting money into it.
Well, and I agree with you, Dave, 100% on that. I guess the other thing with that is this is our third rendition, I believe, of the XFL that's trying to make it. The other thing that the XFL has going, which a lot of people haven't gotten into, because obviously NFL, XFL, USFL football are going to be completely different when it comes to the talent levels. But, excuse me, the XFL is all playing in their own ass stadiums.
Yes.
So there's 8 teams in 8 different stadiums. The USFL is only playing in 3 fucking stadiums. So if you're rooting for, I believe it's the New Jersey Generals, your home field is in Canton, fucking Ohio.
That's
so I don't
good.
see a lot of people going from New Jersey and traveling to Canton, Ohio for a home game. And we'll see what happens with the USFL. It just seems like the XFL has their shit together a lot better than the USFL.
Yeah, I would agree with you. Nobody from New Jersey is going to Canton, Ohio. As a matter of fact,
I don't even want to go to Canton, Ohio, and I've been there before.
Yeah, I have no desire to go there. I would go for the Hall of Fame experience.
It ain't worth it, trust me.
Oh, okay. All right. I want to see OJ's fucking face in the Hall of Fame and be like, look, this is one of the only double murderers that we know of that's actually in the Hall of Fame.
Just don't go when it's a Hall of Fame weekend, because it's overpriced. There's too many people in a shitty ass town, and there's no sense in going there, to be honest with you. Go on like a rant. If I drive out to Maine again next year and you want to hop in the truck and we stop in Canton, then that's a good place.
Wait, Canton's on the way to Maine?
Yeah. Canton, Ohio.
Okay. All right. We'll see. Maybe. We'll put that into a hard maybe category.
It ain't Vegas, baby. It ain't Vegas.
Okay. I was going to say one place that I know we can find ourselves in is Las Vegas. That's going to actually be happening in April. We've got our good buddy Mike Byers, our favorite Texan in Wisconsin, checking in this morning and asking, how is the Foreman report? Now, our good buddy Jeremy P12 Foreman yesterday had a surgery. We have not yet heard back how the Foreman report is. We do anticipate getting a little bit of information on that coming up this morning, hopefully from either himself or from his lovely wife, Ashley. Listen, guys and gals, let me step aside, take a quick break. We've already got Breacher in on the new XFL Keeper Leagues. This won't be like a fantasy league necessarily, but if you want to get in on this, we've got 8 teams. We'll take 8 of you. We'll randomly assign you a team in the XFL. If the team wins the championship, you'll win a sweet prize. Also coming up later this afternoon on our Facebook group page, check out another opportunity for you to win free lunch to the Recovery Room, where Matt and I are going to be back there opening up the joint today at 11. Great day to get over for some lunch, wings, and a pound of wings and a pitcher of beer. Just $14. It's going to be a great day at the Recov. We'll be back here on the Sports Carnival, broadcasting live from the Trauma Center studios in about 1 minute. What can I say? The Recovery Room on 7th and Mississippi Street is not only my favorite bar in all of downtown La Crosse, Wisconsin, it's my favorite restaurant in all of downtown La Crosse, Wisconsin. Breakfast served 8 to noon, Saturday and Sundays, daily specials, incredible cocktails, and the best damn wait staff in the entire city. My buddy Matt knows how to treat you right, and that's why when you go to the Recovery Room on 7th and Mississippi, you're always going to have a great time and a great meal with a great cocktail. So if you haven't been in a while, or perhaps you're just regular and you want to stop in again, make it a thing. I'm there every single week. How about you?
Coming to Fox this fall, it's the Bench Brothers.
Talking about that street clothes and Westbrook.
They're getting down on the bench. The Bench Brothers, brought to you by Big Dick's Hoagie Heaven. Remember, ladies, the first 6 inches is free. And by Don Francisco's. At Don Francisco's, if you're up all night, so are we.
Street clothes and Westbrook.
They're getting down on the bench.
Welcome on back into the Sports Carnival, broadcasting live again from the Trauma Center studio. Hope you guys and gals are off to a good start this morning. And if you do not have to drive, because Matt's like, don't drink and drive, don't text and drive. If you don't have to drive, just don't fucking drive and sit back here with us. We've got a fun program. If you were anticipating Mike Schmidt on the show this morning, sorry to say, Mike is feeling a little bit under the weather. So we decided to make an executive decision, give him a pass on this morning's program. We'll look forward to talking to Mike again here next week on the program. Something I do want to throw out here that Matt Janis brought up to us yesterday, and we actually talked a little bit about on the program. The Eagles basketball team is going to be in action tonight at Mitchell Hall. This is going to be the first round of the WIAC conference tournament. So if you're an Eagles basketball fan or just a supporter of the university, come on down tonight. Tip-off going to be right about 7 o'clock, Matt, and it should be a really exciting game. If all things break the right way and we're able to wrap up our business at the Recov this afternoon, I anticipate taking a trip over there and watching Coach Kent Dernbach and this Eagles team see what they can do. I've been to a couple of games this year. Nice environment, really nice environment at Mitchell Hall, and it's a really fun basketball team to watch. Some have even said that they're a more fun watch than even the Wisconsin Badgers. Some have said.
That's not saying much. It's been a while since I've been to the field house myself, so maybe if I can get all my shit done today, maybe I'll join you and go see my former school. So.
Oh, you know what? Breaking news. Matty Ice checking in here this morning and saying the Eagles game got moved to Friday because of the weather.
I guess that does make sense. I guess.
All right.
If this weather continues to come the way it's supposedly going to come, that would make a lot of sense.
Well, I guess that is something we should just verify, because I know Thomas was checking in and saying that he wasn't going to be able to go to the game. He's got to work at the Rec. But we'll see. We'll see. I think Matty Ice is probably on to something. If you're just joining the show right now, welcome aboard. Glad to have you with us. We've got a poll question, 2 different places, like we do most mornings. Our Twitter feed at the Sports Carney and the Facebook group page. If you're a member of the Facebook group page or you're a follower of us on Twitter at the Sports Carney, you can participate with us on this morning's poll question. The question I've got for you is something that we've been sort of talking about over the last few days, and we asked Matt Janis about it. We had anticipated asking Mike Schmidt about it this morning. Would the NFL benefit, guys and gals, from turning either the XFL or USFL into an official minor league? Let's just say that the NFL won't start its own G League like the NBA did about 20 years ago. Would the NFL benefit from turning the XFL or USFL into their official minor league? An early look here at our Twitter poll results, Matt, have 83 to about 17% of voters saying, yes, that would benefit the NFL quite a bit. Taking a look over here at our Facebook group page, right now it's 100% of respondents saying, yes, it would actually benefit the NFL. So if you want to weigh in on this particular question with us, I'd love you to do so. Jump aboard to our, like I said, Facebook group page or the Twitter feed at the Sports Carney and give us your thoughts here. I know we've already kind of litigated this. I think it would work in certain respects. If the NFL were able to fund, Matt, the XFL or USFL teams, maybe even both, okay? Give these guys some financial support, maybe some cross-marketing support, put the games on the NFL Network, show highlights of games during halftimes of the NFL, and really use it as a player development protocol. I think it could work. I don't know that they're ready to go there under any demonstrable measurements, but if that is something they did, I think it would actually work. If the NFL gives it its seal of approval, it's almost like it would be guaranteed to work because the NFL is just printing money right now.
Well, I guess I look at it a couple different ways. There's one point that Coach Janice brought up yesterday. There's no way in hell that somebody like last or 2 years ago when the Bears drafted Justin Fields, a number one talent like a quarterback, in my opinion, will be sent down to this league. I guess I take this from my older brother's experience, been in the league for over 20 years as a scout, like to get grumpy on after the draft, hopefully. But I think the people that this would benefit primarily would be the interior linemen on both sides, the offensive and defensive line, because the biggest thing that's happening now in the NFL, in my opinion, is the offseason. There's not a lot of contact. There's not a lot of growth in this. So your wide receivers are still going to catch the ball. Hell, look at the gloves they have. The quarterbacks still are not touched in practice. They wear the red shirts. Where a lot of this happens, where these kids need the reps, are in the offensive, defensive line, maybe a couple in the safeties, the cornerbacks, because obviously it's an offensive-driven league. Playing cornerback in the NFL is probably one of the hardest jobs in professional sports. So I can see where this would help out a lot of the talent. I just don't see the major talent that would want to risk injury and going into a league like that where it could screw up their entire career. Offensive, defensive linemen, I can see that where they have to work on their footwork, their hands, lack of holding, etc.
Well, I could see it working out for, Jordan Love, for example. We talked
Correct.
about this Monday when we had Joe DeGuano, our Green and Gold Insider, on. If Jordan Love, who the Packers knew wasn't going to play at all during his first couple of seasons, were able to be flexed into a system that, say, resembled in many respects the Green Bay Packers system. Like, say, Green Bay and two other teams. The G League did this at first. They didn't have every team assigned its own G League team, so multiple teams would share one team. Well, you could do that and say that you had an 8-week season. You could have 4 teams be a part of one XFL or USFL team. For example, 2 weeks each, that team, one of the 4 teams, would be running their offense, their installations, their plays. And you would be able to get a look at guys with real live game action playing in your particular system. Now, it wouldn't be for the top tier. Like Trevor Lawrence is never going to the XFL.
Yeah.
But Jordan Love, Desmond Ridder, guys like this, Zach Wilson, who can't figure it out maybe yet in the NFL. You put these guys down, and I'll make a personal reference point here with one of our good friends from the area, Johnny Davis. Johnny Davis hasn't seen a fucking hardly a minute of NBA action, but he's playing right now for the Wizards G League team. They want to get this guy ready to go in the NBA, get a look at him in real live game action. This was still a top 10 draft pick. Right. This is a first round NBA draft pick who's making guaranteed $25 million in his first 4 years. So sometimes you want to see what these guys can look like taking live bullets. That's something that I think could work. Will it ever become something the NFL does? I don't know, but it feels like they're wrapping their arms around this a little bit more than they would have before. Rob Dog did just check in and say the XFL 2.0 would have worked if it hadn't been for COVID. I think largely that's probably true.
Maybe
probably.
Not. I guess if he did, we just got done talking about the WWE and Vince McMahon we brought it up, trying to get $9 billion for it. I guess my thing with going back with the NFL and everything else, you have to look at the logistics. Obviously, having 15 guys on a basketball team compared to having another, 53 or whatever.
Sure.
And then, but also the NFL is making billions and billions of dollars, and we've talked about it numerous times. They can't even pay their fucking referees full time. They can't get the fields right. So it's not only they just don't. They're very happy taking the money they're getting, and they could make a shit ton more money by doing this. It's whether or not they'd want to do it right logistically and being able to pull it off.
Yeah. Okay. And that's fair. All right. Joe V's checking in this morning with us, says he's been to Vegas, that AAA stadium, for a late spring training game. Very nice. He saw mob lawyer turned mayor, former mayor Oscar Goodman, throw out the first pitch with the Rockettes, which is very fun. I believe that Oscar Goodman's wife, Carolyn, is the mayor still. She might not be, but after Oscar Goodman retired from being mayor of Las Vegas, then his wife, Carolyn, took over. I've had a chance to sit down and have a couple of cocktails with both of those people, and very fun people indeed. You, Matt, wanted to proposition me with a couple of different questions. I want to see what you got for me because off air, Matt says, I've got 4 of the stupidest questions that I could ever throw to you. So let me see where you're trying to take me this morning, because this always intrigues me. If you've got 4 stupid questions for me, I've got 3 at least smart ass answers.
Well, I don't know if they're the 4 stupidest questions that I can ever find, but I'm trying to come up with current events. And like you brought up yesterday, you used to do a little skit that was at Vegas or the World. I can't remember.
Florida versus the field.
Florida versus the field.
Hey, Paul, I need my smokes and my cigarettes and my I need something else here to tie behind my truck. That's where we go. Florida versus the field.
All right, brother. So I can only come up with Florida because I guess crazy ass shit just happens in Florida. So, all right. Question number 1, Florida versus the field. A 24-year-old woman was arrested for pointing a gun at a McDonald's drive-through worker because she didn't get her free cookie.
Okay. That could be Florida. That could also be Mississippi, Alabama, Arkansas, Louisiana, Texas. Any place south of the Mason-Dixon line where those motherfuckers didn't get their proper comeuppance back in 1865. So I will say in this particular case, Florida.
It is Florida.
Boosh.
All right. In this state, a new bill is supposedly trying to be passed to make it illegal for dogs to stick their heads out of the window of a car because of their animal welfare.
Okay, that's not Florida, because we know that Florida does not give a fuck about animals. Those people don't care about much of anything. I will say that's the field. I will take any place but Florida.
I got you on that one, man. That is Florida.
It is, but so I didn't even realize they had a working legislative branch there. I thought Ron DeSantis called all of that. And doesn't he now exist as the czar of Florida? Isn't that the way he wanted to go?
I think he's working on that with Disney World and everything else. I don't know. I used to love visiting Fort Myers Beach. Shout out to everybody down there that
until it blew away.
I'm hoping everybody's still safe. I missed that place, but yeah, it's not as we brought up Jacksonville and Indianapolis. I don't know. Florida's just Florida. Man.
I'd live in Clearwater today. If you told me I could go live in Clearwater, Florida today, I would never see you again. I would be gone as a fucking quick as greased lightning. That place is great, but a lot of Florida basically sucks. And really, I would only want to be on Clearwater Beach, because when you go outside, like to the rest of the town of Clearwater, Tampa's nice. Tampa's really nice. Clearwater Beach is great. Tampa's nice. Fort Myers, I haven't been to. And as long as the hurricanes don't devastate it, I'd probably be there too. Miami was okay for a weekend. I don't know if I would want to live there.
I can't do I'm more of a Fort Myers Beach guy. Obviously, the cottage used to be my favorite place. Used to go down there all the time. Fort Myers and Fort Myers Beach are 2 different kind of areas. Miami, not a fan. Trying not to generalize too much. Miami has too many nylons. We call those New York and Londoners who have way too much fucking and mommy and daddy's money that just come down for the weekend.
I would love to own a bar there. Oh, yeah. That would be great. Could we also charge you mommy and daddy's money prices for drinks?
Yeah, they just don't have the Midwestern. They don't have the Midwestern work ethic on that side of the. I'm with you on that.
Bring your money.
We'd lose our mind, my friend. Trust me, we'd lose our fucking mind.
Let's see if we can find it first, and then we can lose it.
All right.
Okay, we'll find that mind and then see if we can lose it. All right, so what else you got for me?
Just like Aaron Rodgers.
Exactly.
All right. 2 more. Small business pizza owner shop went viral with their now hiring sign, which is posted on the front of the building. It says, now hiring with a caveat, non-stupid people.
Wow. Boy, so that's a Florida versus the field question. Hot, non-stupid people. Well, if you're in Florida, you're really asking for a lot. That if you're trying to get non-stupid people to work for you in Florida, you're asking for a lot. Again, I'm going to have to take the field on this one.
You got that one, man. It's Columbus, Ohio.
Yeah, see, and Columbus, Ohio, beautiful place, by the way.
Yep.
Columbus, Ohio is a beautiful city. I know that you've had exception with it. You said it used to be nice, maybe not as nice anymore.
It's not. I used to live there for a little while. I just visited over the summer. I still love the town. It's got a great mall. It's got the Columbus Zoo. It's just, unfortunately, it's got a little bad parts of town it's college town. I'll just put it to you that way.
Well, listen, in college towns, it's youth. You're always going to have that. Speaking of college, Morningwood was popping up with this year, Matt Morningwood, Kyle Morningwood, and saying that I just wanted to go to the UWL game to hang out with Pork Chop. We know that's not true.
I know that's not.
We know that's not true. Nobody wants to ever hang out with Pork Chop. As a matter of fact, like even Pork Chop, when he goes over to his family's house, like I saw Pork Chop's brother-in-law yesterday. I ran into Chris when I was at the store. Dude, even Chris doesn't want to hang out with Pork Chop, like ever. So no, that's not a thing.
It's been a while since I've seen him. I used to sling, or when I used to
You're
sling
lucky.
a couple of bars downtown, I used to run into him. So it's probably been over 10 years since I've seen him.
No, you're lucky. Okay. And then you said you've got one more for me. I like this. I like where we're going with this.
This is the easiest one of them all, but it's also the saddest one of them all. A man was arrested for disrespectfully eating a key lime pie after he was charged with battery of a man over the age of 65 years old.
So that is Florida. I believe I did see that story. It was from Florida, and this man got arrested after disrespectfully eating a key lime pie.
No, he actually, there was a man disrespectfully ate his key lime pie, and then the guy
gets into the fisticuff.
And beat up a man that was over 65 years old over a key lime fucking pie.
Okay, now let's just ratchet this back for a moment, because Chris Rock and maybe was it Chris Rock or Dave Chappelle? I can't remember, but there was a great skit by one of these two guys, Chris Rock or Dave Chappelle, and maybe it was Chris Rock, but it talked about everybody deserving an ass kicking, but certain people that you just can't give it to.
Okay.
Right? Like old men sometimes really do deserve to get kicked down the fucking stairs, but you can't do that because they're old men. So in this particular case, like maybe this guy deserved to get pummeled, but you just can't do it because he's an old man, right? Like certain times people have an ass kicking just like screaming at them so loud that they need, but it's society, so you can't do it. Kids under the age of 18.
The majority of Iowa drivers.
Okay, fair enough. Or you know what?
Hey,
Illinois drivers too.
I'm proud to be a fib. I know I spent most of my life in La Crosse, Wisconsin, but at least Illinois people know how to drive.
Do they?
Yeah. Well, I do.
Okay.
Just get behind me and let's go.
Okay. Because when I go to Illinois, and this is the bad part of going to Illinois, you have to either be like, I don't know, Denzel Washington in the Book of Eli and take these fucking back roads, or you get to pay like the most onerous kinds of fees to drive on the highway.
Well, they have
toll roads.
They have the easy pass now, so you don't really have to worry. If Wisconsin had some fucking toll roads, we'd have a lot better roads in the state of Wisconsin, in my opinion, because they're not very great. We have too many potholes. We don't live in New York.
City.
We don't live in New York. New York is one of the worst highway systems I've ever driven in my entire life. So at least it's not as bad. Illinois is not as bad as you think. It's just the Chicago area, because once you get past Chicago, you go further south. It's just not bad at all. It's just getting through the Chicago area.
Again,
Rockford, Chicago area.
For me, I've got to look at like a map, and I need like a Thomas guide, because they don't even like to put these county highways online anymore, because you start to go from the 90. You're getting out of Milwaukee, which is a beautiful city, glistening with potential and pride. And then you start to go to Illinois, and all of a sudden they're asking you to pay.
Well, you have
every
to get
36 feet.
Racine first too to get to Chicago, so you're not really getting out all that beautiful of a town of
Milwaukee.
Racine's
gorgeous.
Oh yeah, okay.
What are you talking about? Racine is just gorgeous. I don't know where you're going.
I don't know what you're smoking today, brother, but I'll have some.
Hey,
I'll show you Chicago when you show me Vegas.
Okay, so speaking of what I'm smoking today, this is a perfect shout out to our friends over at Stack's Family Farms, who propagate some of the finest Delta 8, Delta 9, and hemp products in the region. By the way, many of our friends who produce other kinds of CBD do so with help from Stack's Family Farms. Like, they produce a lot of the hemp products that go into things like Carbon and a number of the products that we see around. So if you ask me what I'm smoking, it is that.
We got Jason Brockmeyer checking in on us. It's Chris Rock. Thanks, Brock. It says nobody is above an ass kicking.
Yeah. Okay, good. And I like that. We can see. Thank you. Nobody's above an ass kicking, except for you just can't do it. And that's what he mentioned in that particular skit, right? Like, there are some times in which you're like, girl, this should go a real different way for you. But we can't do this because, again, this is society, and we have to live within some sort of confines of society. Same thing with an old fucking guy. Sometimes they just push your buttons. We see this happen at bars across town, probably across the country. You have to sit back and just remember, this guy's old, and this isn't going to look good on you, Morningwood, if you decide to kick this old guy's ass. You know what? That's a real shout out to Kyle. We got to keep you away from the old guys, because Kyle would just take him to task right away, start kicking old guy ass. It doesn't look good. It doesn't dress well. It really doesn't. All right, let's see. This is something that I wanted to hit back on, and this is another one of our Facebook users, Matt.
That's Bobby Roth.
Okay, Bobby Roth, check it in this morning. The subject of our poll questions, which is on our Facebook group page or our Twitter feed, is would the NFL be benefited by having the XFL or USFL be a real minor league system? He says this: yes, do it, not only for the players, but also for the refs. That is part of this, right? Like, the referees in the USFL, the XFL, are getting pro shots. The guys that come to the XFL or USFL, I would imagine, and we could check in on this, have absolutely been D1 referees. I can guarantee you that almost 100%, that this is another way of ascension. Now, our good buddy Kyle Cable from One Trust Real Estate, he's making the transition from high-level high school football into Division III college football, and then wants to continue his career Division II, Division I, if possible, keep ratcheting that up. So I do agree that having these leagues, not just good for the goose, but good for the gander. And that could this particular case be the referees.
Well, and I also agree with I'll throw out a couple other things too. I think the referees obviously need help, especially with the amount of money that's on these games, and not only in the NFL, but there's obviously going to be more money in the XFL. We've talked about that numerous times, but lost my train of thought there for a second. But it's not only with just the XFL, the NFL players. Oh man, sorry. Where were we going with that, brother?
Just the XFL and USFL. Is that a good league? Be used? Sorry,
this is where I was going to go with it. Is I know you didn't get to watch a lot of games over this week, but I'm guessing the NFL is not only looking into what the XFL is doing, not only with like their computer systems, the camera works and everything else, but I guess I'm curious on your opinion is, do you think the NFL will ever steal some of the XFL's ideas?
Yes, of course. They do that with everything. They did that with the AAF, like the sky cams that they had in the AAF. Remember the Alliance of American Football and the Sky Judge? That was something that they sort of looked to incorporate in. There were certain refereeing tactics that the NFL did sort of implore, except it wasn't exactly the way that they did it in the other leagues. But yes, I think the NFL will, and this is what we talked about yesterday with Matt Janis. The NFL will work and look at some of the ways that the XFL is working with these players, with these different rules. They will work with the XFL to start to, possibly tweak them for their own benefit. I definitely think that's a thing.
They have the 1-point conversion. They have the 2-point conversion. They have the 3-point conversion.
Yes.
They have the fourth and I believe
the 4th and 15 as opposed to making that onside kick.
I thought the kickoff was actually, I was surprised that nothing was actually broken out because they're only opposed from each other from about 5 yards apart from each other. I thought that was more entertaining. Obviously, they're doing for player safety. We haven't got into the NCAA yet, which about player safety, they're looking at running the clocks longer in the NFL or in the NCAA to keep player safety. So there's just all these other ideas out there keeping it safe. But I just think the NFL should definitely look into a couple of the ideas that the XFL is doing because it just makes it a little more entertaining.
Oh, I think that they not only will be looking at that, but if it really does make sense for the NFL and they think that this is something that, hey, could really catch on, they'll do it. The NFL is not above stealing. Don't forget, the NFL looked a lot different before the AFL was around too, right? Like the AFL propositioned the NFL with a lot of different things that the NFL, of course, co-opted. And when they merged leagues, it just, became one. The ABA for the NBA, the 3-point line, right? Never did get that colored basketball, which I did like. I thought that was kind of fun.
Did you see the
red, white, and blue?
Did you see the new basketball that was used in the dunk competition or whatever that they're supposedly bringing it out? It's supposedly never supposed to deflate. It was the big.
Yeah, I didn't see that part. Yeah. I didn't.
I thought it was bullshit.
Yeah, I was doing a little too much. How should we say this? Hosting this weekend in order to really pay too much attention to the ball that they used. Rob Dog from Stoddard, I'll give you the final shout before we go to another really quick break, says Florida versus the field was something that my friends and I did at the lunch table every day. It was a fun experience, he says, for those lunches. I'm just glad that I've been able to have some sort of impact here, Matt, on the youth of the area. That's important to me.
Every day.
All right, we'll be back. The Sports Carnival broadcasting live from the Trauma Center studio, powered by the Recovery Room. Stay tuned.
Now more than ever, if you're looking to buy or sell your first home or perhaps an investment property, you need a full-time dedicated real estate agent who is up to date on all the latest trends and analysis and is ready to give you the kind of service that you deserve. That's why the official real estate agent and the official real estate partner of the Sports Carnival is Kyle Cable of One Trust Real Estate. Whether you're looking to buy or sell your first home or perhaps you are a seasoned investor, call the official real estate agent partner of the Sports Carnival, Kyle Cable of One Trust Real Estate.
At the Little Doobie's Pizza, we kill 2 stone birds with 1 rock every time with our hand-rolled Doobie Deluxe for only $49.95. That's a street value of over $75. No way! The Doobie Deluxe is a hand-rolled 18-inch pizza that will blow your bone-resonant mind. Whoa! Topped with the sausage, black olives, extra cheese, and about a half ounce of the finest kush at east side of San Bernardino.
Dude, give me another slice.
Because at Little Doobie's Pizza, we put a little TLC in our THC.
And right now, for a limited time only, get an order of crazy cannabis bread for only $10 with an order of a Doobie Deluxe at the street value of over $22.50.
You know what we say at the Little Doobie's Pizza? Why get stoned then eat when you can do both at the same time?
Doobies.
The only video of ours that ever got removed from TikTok, banned and flagged from TikTok, was Little Doobie's Pizza. Now, I'm not one to criticize Okay, I am. But when I think about TikTok, I'm like, okay, so you got all these, what's a good way to say this? Whoas showing their asses on TikTok and these people dancing like fucking idiots. And yet Little Doobies, which is a well-produced piece with awesome sound and some very benign cartooning, gets banned by the Chinese Communist Party. I mean, TikTok. That to me, I'm just like, what are you guys doing? I don't see the logic in this.
Makes no sense to me either, man. I'm happy. I've never gone down that rabbit hole. I've never wanted to. I still call it pentagram because I've never gone down either of those two rabbit holes. So it's just, maybe I'm too old for that shit, brother. I just can't do it.
Well, this is one of the I would say the great burdens of being the ringleader of the sports carnival is that we have to do these kinds of social media endeavors. Listen, if I could figure out the TikTok algorithm and I could make us $1 million, don't you think I would? Like, I've been trying to poke at this thing with our 126 followers, right? I've been trying to poke at this thing and see, how do we get more engagement? Like, when is one of our things going to get to like 85,000 views? The most viewed thing that we've had on TikTok so far has gotten about 1,500 or 1,600 views. And it was when Joe DeGuano and I were talking about, the Packers and whether they had a discipline problem. Because, of course, we've seen Matt LaFleur over the last few years look at times like he wasn't really running the show. That was the video, like, more than any that we got views on. So who knows? Maybe we've just got to hit more Packers disrespect. By the way, Aaron Rodgers did emerge from the darkness yesterday, talked to Pat McAfee, made absolutely zero proclamations or decisions about his future. Said to Pat, there will be no news today. So that's where we're at. And we're not going to spend all of today talking about Rodgers. We've given this guy a lot of oxygen already this week.
I'm not saying we need to go, I don't know how far you want to go down the rabbit hole on the TikTok thing. Maybe we have to do a little song and dance, a little commercial, maybe not the whole maybe not the whole full Monty type of song and dance commercial, but I'm sure we can get some followers up on there if you really want to go after it, my friend.
Okay. See, now I've got an idea. All right. I've got my notepad here. All right. I've got an idea now. Boy, if we could have taken the videos that we had from our party bus on Sunday and put them on TikTok, well, we might have hit a viral video or two.
We might need some disclaimers for that next time.
We might need some waivers. I might need to get people to sign off on something before I can give that out. All right, Kyle Morningwood popping back up with us here and talking this morning to us, Matt, about our poll question, which is hanging out on our Facebook group page, also our Twitter feed. It's been kind of our subject of the morning so far. For the sake of college football, Kyle says he would not like the XFL to become a minor league for the NFL. And this is also something I think that people are starting to look at. As a matter of fact, is college football becoming the actual minor league? And I think college football, big-time college football, D1 powerhouse college football is actually taking a look at this. You know this guy. Now, I'm going to throw out a name to you. You know this guy. He just took a new job yesterday, which I think is going to start to be a position that these big colleges are going to have. Brian Polian, who is Bill Polian's son. Bill Polian was the famed general manager of the Indianapolis Colts, drafted Peyton Manning, hired Tony Dungy, the whole bit. I don't know if he drafted Peyton, but I know that he was the GM for a long time when Peyton was there. Long and short of it, Brian Polian, his son, who's got tons of experience in the NFL as well.
Not as much as Chris, though. So I'm more familiar with Chris.
Okay, fair enough.
Still, it's nepotism. He's been around the NFL. Yes,
he has. He's been around the NFL. Brian Polian has now taken a post, Matt, with the LSU Tigers, essentially as a general manager. Brian Polian is going to manage their NIL deals. He's going to manage their transfer portal. This part of the business of college football, to go back to Kyle Morningwood's point, is starting to become more and more prevalent. And college football, I think right now, is probably taking a look at the XFL as well and saying, okay, we got to make sure that we keep our piece of the pie. I don't think college football is ever really going to be dismembered like we think it is, even with NIL, because, listen, they're still kids. They still go to games. They still go to college. This is still going to be a business, right? Like college basketball's not anywhere close to what it used to be. They still get plenty of attendance. They still get plenty of viewership during March Madness. So it's not going anywhere, but I see what you're saying, Morningwood, and I think that college football, especially big teams, they're looking at that kind of the same too.
Well, my thoughts are on it. We're not really going to know what's going to happen with the NIL in the long term for at least a couple more years to see what really the effects are on it. I will agree with you that college football isn't going anywhere. The NCAA is fucking going bye-bye eventually.
That's fair. That is potentially fair. The NCAA could be going bye-bye. That would not be great. Well, it wouldn't be great for teams like UWL, because they're part of the NCAA. I think the NCAA probably returns to more of what originally it was thought it was going to be, and that is amateur athletics. Right. That is student athletes. Yes. Like, you look at schools like Viterbo and UW here in town, these are student athletes. Now, Viterbo does have the ability, because it's an NIAA school, to give scholarships out. So
also
there's
a parochial school too.
Well, but what I'm saying is that they've got the ability to give scholarships where UWL doesn't, right? Like there are certain things, I'm sure you can get a Pell Grant and go to UW. Yep. But for the most part, you're just there. You're paying your own tuition, and you're also an athlete. Yep. You're a student that also happens to play sports. You know, you go to a school like LSU, Alabama, Wisconsin, Ohio State. I'm not saying that you can't be a student, but let's be fair. The reason that you're playing football for the Ohio State Buckeyes or LSU or Alabama isn't because you're a great student. That's not the reason that you're there to play football.
I agree with you, but how does this really look for LSU? I mean, they just got done with a scandal. It looks like they're just hiring a Napoleon just to kind of legalize a scandal. Is this what's happening with all the major teams?
Yes.
Obviously, I mean, it's just
Ryan Day came out for the Ohio State last year and said, I need $5 million, and went to his big donors and said, I need $5 million in order to get these kinds of players. Guess what? He got checks. Yeah, absolutely.
Well, and then, sorry, go ahead. But
absolutely.
And then I guess we're talking about old men that maybe shouldn't be in working any longer. We're talking about Jim Boeheim. We're talking NCAA basketball on that end, where he's going off and saying how every other team that he's competing has bought their rosters. Boeheim, you've been doing it long enough, forever too. So quit throwing stones when you've cast them before. I just don't understand. If everybody's, it's like steroids in baseball. Everybody knew about it, just nobody talked about it, and now everybody's talking about it because everybody can do it.
Well, and again, we'll look at steroids in baseball, much like we didn't look at amphetamines in baseball. There was, I think, in many cases, some racial overtones to who was taking what, because when everybody, thank you, Ted Williams, was taking what they called vitamins or greenies, it wasn't a big deal. So these guys were pepped up on amphetamines, hopping around the bases like, hey, we're not going to run out of energy in a 162-game season. Don't tell me that shit wasn't a performance-enhancing drug, okay? Let's pump the brakes there. All right, I want to circle back to some other stuff that we haven't had a chance to talk about this morning, Matt, and I did want to make a point of this because Major League Baseball, especially the Milwaukee Brewers, do become our focus, at least during parts of the summer in which there's really not a lot of other things happening, right? We've got some golf, we have baseball, we get into some racing action. So we'll spend some time idling away watching Brewers ball. As a matter of fact, the recovery room, a great place to watch Brewers baseball during the season. Well, the Milwaukee Brewers may be getting a big gift here from Governor Tony Evers. Now, this isn't a done deal yet, but Tony Evers and the Milwaukee Brewers are trying to come up with an agreement that will keep the Milwaukee Brewers in Wisconsin guaranteed at American Family Field until the year 2043. The proposition here from Governor Evers is to give the Brewers nearly $300 million from Wisconsin's budget surplus in order to enact repairs and renovations at American Family Field. This, again, is a budget that if the Republican Assembly is able to pass through for Governor Evers, could see the Brewers receiving this money like right away and then using that money to sign an agreement, sign a pact to stay at American Family Field and in the state of Wisconsin, in the city of Milwaukee, until at least 2043. I think that if you're a Milwaukee Brewers fan, this should probably excite you because this is money then that the Milwaukee Brewers, to repair the stadium, don't have to use out of their own budget. They can spend those dollars on players. They can go buy players with the money that they would have maybe had to have spent to repair that stadium. To me, this looks like a good deal. But I can see that there could be some pushback here because some people will say that the government, the state government, shouldn't use that money under any circumstance to proposition or even try to persuade a baseball team to stay. Where are you at with this?
I guess I have a lot of different thoughts on it. I think it's one way of trying to keep the Brewers in Milwaukee. There's been a lot of teams that have been talked about moving to different locations. Obviously, the Brewers have been in Milwaukee forever. It is a small market team.
Well, not forever, since 1969?
But I mean, before that, they were the Braves. So the
Brewers were the Seattle Pilots.
Well, there's always been baseball in Wisconsin, I guess. So that's
fair.
In Milwaukee.
Okay, all right,
that's
fair.
That's a better way to put it. So I guess that's one thing. Is it seems like they're just Evers is trying to keep them from going to a different city or different states. Kind of where I get in it. The other thing with the the stadium, which I still want to call Milwaukee County Stadium, is I thought that they were trying to build up a little bit of an area around it, a little more commercial work that they're trying to do, which is kind of like the Bears are trying to do in Arlington,
Sure.
or what the Vikings did up in the cities. So it looks like they're trying to just create more of a touristic area around the stadium, which would be great because getting in and out of that stadium is such a pain in the ass. And it just seems like the upgrades are there. I don't know. Are they just going to just close the fucking roof? That's the biggest problem.
I love the open close.
When it works, man, but it never works.
Oh, it does though, Maddie. See, I've been in there when it's been really, really hot and humid outside. That was kind of brutal because it was raining. It was a thunderstorm, and inside, man, it was sweltering. But if it's March and say we've got the beginning of the major league season, there is nothing better than knowing when you go to a Brewer game for opening day or whatever, that you're going to actually see a baseball game. You go to Minneapolis, you go to Chicago, there's no guarantee
you
that
can just close the roof and leave it closed. Just put a dome on it.
Ah, man. See, I love it though when it's nice outside. Then I want it to be open.
I agree with you, but the fucking thing never opens.
Okay, well, like you said, $290 million, that can go a long way
to fix the roof.
Fixing the roof.
Hopefully.
Well, I like the idea in really all ways. I like the idea of the state, especially if it's got a surplus budget, doing something like this, because I think that, listen, it goes to a couple of different directions within the state budget. It helps the constituencies who are working in and around American Family Field at the stadium or associated businesses. It keeps them employed. It also keeps a certain tax district, in Milwaukee from collapsing in on itself. Because if you lose something like the Brewers, that area, which you've already mentioned, could probably go through a number of different upgrades itself. That area becomes now plighted because you've got this albatross, this stadium that's just sitting there. What do you do with that?
A lot of stadiums, unfortunately, across this country.
Well, right. Or a lot of malls. Think about that.
Malls, yeah.
We've been really thankful here on Alaska that there has been a lot of creative thinking and a creative planning attack to filling up a lot of what that space was. Hy-Vee comes in, takes a big portion of the mall. We get the VA, takes a big portion of the mall. That thing was going to sit there like a fucking desert island for 25 years if nobody did that. So I can see this being not just a play on people's emotions to keep the Brewers in town, but I can see this a really smart financial play, because if you don't keep the Brewers, what now do you do with that entire area? And I do think that Dave Ludke and I came up with a great idea for a name for the area surrounding American Family Field a couple of years back. I came up with this name on air. Dave Ludke and I started talking about this on a text message, sort of a feed, the Beer District. So you've got outside of Fiserv Forum, the Deer District,
Yep.
outside of American Family Field, which used to be Miller Park at the time. I thought it would be appropriately named the Beer District. So for me, I would like to see, hey, maybe you use part of that money to enhance the areas surrounding that with great beer displays. Possibly you've got the actual drunk tank where you can dive into a big vat of beer. Maybe you could have some cheap hotels around there so that when you're out of the drunk tank or the dunk tank, you go over to a really nice, affordable hotel motel, and really enjoy the rest of what Milwaukee has to offer. The Laverne and Shirley sightseeing tours, these things which Milwaukee has to offer.
I guess my point with this is that $290, $300 billion or $1 million, brother, doesn't guarantee much. You brought up a desert. You know what is really desert or really dry or really bare? They're trophies. So that doesn't guarantee a winner. So this money better go to something, because even if they give it to them, it doesn't guarantee a winner. I'm going to throw this at you. How big would it be for not only Milwaukee, but the state of Wisconsin for the fucking Brewers to finally win a championship?
Well, it would be massive. I mean, massive. And I've asked this question of audience members before. It's funny because this is a poll question that I've put up before. What would be more important to the state of Wisconsin? A Brewers championship, another Packers Super Bowl, or another Bucks championship? And a Brewers championship,
or
a World Series.
How about a Badgers football championship, NCAA? That'd be huge too.
That would be huge too.
I don't know if that'll ever happen. Everybody's going to go with the Packers though, because that's what everybody goes for, the Packers. I think you have to take the Packers out and say, what else would you go with besides the Packers?
No, I asked about the impact, and okay. I was going to tell you, a Brewers World Series came back with more responses.
Really?
We had that. Yes. And the reason is the same reason that Jerry Reinsdorf, who owns the Bulls and owns the White Sox. Yep. The Bulls won 6 championships. When the White Sox won the World Series back in, what was that, 2010?
Yeah, I remember. Yeah, I think
it's somewhere in that area.
Yep.
So when the White Sox won the World Series, Reinsdorf came out and said that one World Series meant more to him than all of the Bulls championships.
Oh, I agree with that. It probably meant more to the south side of Chicago than the entire city of Chicago.
Okay,
Yeah,
indeed. So my point being, back to what we were just talking about, I think that if Milwaukee, to answer your question, wins a World Series, it would be absolutely enormous. It would have a major reverberating impact because there is something about the cachet of a World Series ring, America's oldest professional sport, that does carry, possibly in some cases further than a Super Bowl, definitely further in many people's minds than an NBA championship. So to me, yeah, it would be enormous. And then what you would get is a greater sense of rivalry between the Cubs, who have one championship in 190,000 years, and the Brewers, who, if they get one in 60 years, would make the Chicago drought seem like nothing, right? If the Brewers won one World Series, they'd be like, hey, we've only been here for 60 years. Look at us. We did it fast.
Well, and the Brewers have been a lot better than the Cubs for the last few years. I'm sorry, last
few years.
A lot of people still consider Milwaukee, Chicago North. So it'd be probably really good for the Brewers to probably put in the Cubs' faces so you can get past it. It'd be great. For me, I always like to root for teams that have been the underdog forever. So I rooted for the Bills, the Bengals. So I will still always root. You know me, I kind of gave up on my sports allegiances a long time ago when my brother got in the NFL.
Sure.
So it's more a matter of just going for the teams that you want to see win, especially for the fans that have been diehard for so long. So I'm with you, Brewer fans. I wish you the best of luck. They just need to get in there and win one.
Well,
win one for Euchre.
Yeah, and that's Rob Dog from Stoddard checking in with us this morning, saying we should have named the stadium Euchre Park so we can all just be a bit outside. I like that. If Bob Euchre wanted to pay for the naming rights of that, I would have said so too. This is something I've never been able to really wrap my mind around. Why anybody cares that American Family Insurance gets the naming rights over Miller Park. Look, it's about money, okay? It's not about you liking the name. It's about money, guys. How are the Brewers supposed to compete with anybody if they took less money on a naming right deal? That part of it, as a Brewers fan, you really need to work out on your own, because I don't give a fuck what they called it. They could call it BetUS Park. If BetUS gave the Brewers $1 trillion, awesome. Best name of a stadium ever in the history of stadium names, because that means Milwaukee can go buy players. This is baseball, and this is one reason why, to put a button on this Brewers season, to me, I'm a little bit concerned about. I've looked at this roster. I mean, I've looked at their depth chart. I don't like it. And I could maybe be convinced differently. Corbin Burns is mad at the team. Christian Yelich hadn't been able to hit a ball in 3 fucking years. Lorenzo Cain's retired. Who on this team is good? This is one thing. I mean, maybe is Wilson Contreras the catcher now? I'd have to check on that. Like, who on this team is good? This team is going to be possibly really bad. I know their win total is sitting there at about 85 to 85.5, but I don't know. They're going to need to have some really stellar pitching performances this year in order for the Brewers to make any sort of noise.
Unfortunately, I just think it's going to be really tough in the NL Central for everybody except for the fucking Cardinals. And I hate saying that. I agree with that. There's no city I hate more in the world than St. Louis.
Okay, well, let me throw this out here to you, because I mentioned BetUS. BetUS, one of the great sponsors of the program. You go up to BetUS.com. Use the promo code Carnival on deposit, 125% free play money. But check this out. The Reds right now are projected to win like 59 games. Go take the Reds over 59 games. I almost guarantee you that is going to be sort of a lock. All right, one of our good friends, also a good participating member of the program and one of our sponsors, Kyle Cable, OneTrust Real Estate. He knows how to make some money on sports gambling. Kyle is a smart sports bettor. So we'll say hi to Kyle, who is the official real estate agent partner of the program. And then when we come back, Matt, we'll wrap up shop fast and furious here on the Sports Carnival. Stay tuned.
Now more than ever, if you're looking to buy or sell your first home or perhaps an investment property, you need a full-time dedicated real estate agent who is up to date on all the latest trends and analysis and is ready to give you the kind of service that you deserve. That's why the official real estate agent and the official real estate partner of the Sports Carnival is Kyle Cable of OneTrust Real Estate. Whether you're looking to buy or sell your first home, or perhaps you are a seasoned investor, call the official real estate agent partner of the Sports Carnival, Kyle Cable of OneTrust Real Estate.
Oh, UWL's Thomas, we're just loving your comment here this morning on our YouTube page. Thomas made us laugh here off air. Said the Brewers still have Adames, Willie Adames. Yeah, that's what we're talking about right now. We're talking about Willy Adames. Like, you're saying the Brewers still have Willy Adames, and this is supposed to elicit some hope in us? This shit made me even feel worse than before. Like, well, at least we still have Willy Adames. Yeah, that's a good one. Hey, how's Keston Hiura looking these days? Like, holy fuck. This could be a long season. And the Corbin Burns situation, listen, this is bad, man. They're arguing over $700,000. He went to arbitration. He wanted $10.75 million. Okay, $10,750,000. The Brewers only wanted to give him 10 because, you know, at that point, what we need to start doing is arguing over the peanuts. This is where, if you're a Brewer fan, you should like what Governor Evers is trying to do. Give this team some money to make stadium repairs, because maybe, Matty, if the Brewers weren't worried about nickel and diming their way out of this thing, they would have just given Corbin Burns a Cy Young winner and ostensibly their very best player the money he needed in arbitration. Now, Corbin Burns has one more year of arbitration after this. Then he becomes a free agent. How do you think that's going to land on him when he becomes a free agent?
It makes no sense to me with what the Brewers are doing. You have to spend money, obviously, to make money, and this is ridiculous. He's a Cy Young winner, former Cy Young winner. It just makes no sense. You look at what's going on in San Diego, another small market team that has obviously fucking opened up their wallets, but they are going to make some. They're going to lose money, but they're going to make money in other ways because you're bringing in people in. Baseball owners are billionaires. They can make money. They have the money to spend, and the Brewers just need to open up their pockets. Otherwise, this is why Brewer fans just always, you feel like you're almost going to get there, but you never, ever really get there.
Well, they were close a couple of seasons back. I want to say it was 2018 when they went to the NLCS. They took the Dodgers to 7. That was when Christian Yelich was an MVP. Lo Cain was still playing really good ball.
Ryan Braun was still somewhat decent.
You still had Ryan Braun. You had Mike Moustakas out there, right? This team is, at least from an outsider's perspective and looking at it only on paper, really far away from where they were. I mean, really far away from where they were. Now, the pitching staff has increased in its efficiency, but you no longer have Josh Hader to backstop that whole thing. Josh Hader was an automatic 3 outs. That's what this guy brought. I'm not saying the Brewers can't be competitive, because the NL Central, like you've mentioned, the Cardinals really are the cream of the crop, and then everybody else is going to be fighting for second place, third place, and fourth place. The Pirates will be a minor league baseball team.
Yep.
Maybe the Reds won't be as bad, or maybe they'll be worse, I should say, than I think. And then you've got the Cubs, who can always be sort of a wild card, because if they want to make moves, they can. They won't hold back from making moves. We'll see. I'm just not really feeling where this Brewer team is going to be at. Again, I can't wait for baseball. Don't care what the stadium's called. Would love it if they get some more things in and around American Family Field. And who knows, maybe that beer district that we talked about will actually come to fruition. I want to recap this morning's poll question while we've got some time here. It's 2 places for you. It's on our Facebook group page. It's also on our Twitter feed at The Sports Carney. The question simply being, would the NFL benefit from turning the XFL or USFL into an actual minor league, an official minor league? Our Facebook group page, Maddie, 93-7 saying yes. Looking at our Twitter feed at The Sports Carney, 75-25 saying yes. So at least from early results and early returns, the audience members and folks that are participating with us on social media, yeah, they say that the NFL would benefit from turning one of these 2 leagues, maybe both of them, into official minor leagues.
Well, and I guess, David, shows one thing. We just can't get enough football no matter what it is. That's the one thing.
That is what it shows. And again, the XFL probably kicks off again on Thursday. We've got Seattle as a 3.5-point favorite right now. Go to betus.com, sign up, use promo code and Carnival, I should say, and get yourself that free 125% deposit match. Now, Matt, the recovery room that powers the Trauma Center studios going to reopen this morning at 11 o'clock. We've got lunch ready for our audience members. Wing special, that's a pound of wings. You get your sauce choice. Of course, you get a pitcher of beer, and that's only going to be $14. I wonder if the boys still have pub chili on, because I know that they've been having pub chili on. That's another one of our favorites. Come on down, see us for lunch. Later this evening, again, to kind of recap, it doesn't appear there will be a UW basketball game. They've moved that to Friday because of the inclement weather. So if you had plans and they got scuttled, come and see us. We've got some fun things also coming up in the near weeks ahead. Matt, I was talking about this on bingo night the other night on Monday. Coming up in the next few weeks, we're going to start to roll out some new things at the recovery room, including something that I think our audience members are really going to enjoy participating in. Win, lose, draw, or drink. This is going to be an interesting, fun way to spend a Tuesday or a Wednesday night. I'm really looking forward to it. Are you already sold that it'll be Tuesday nights?
I think Tuesday nights is going to be the night that we're going to try it out, and we can always change it up. That's one of the pleasures of us just kind of riding out, kind of like we're figuring out this program that we're going on with. Yeah, we got St. Patty's Day around the corner. We're going to do a 420 celebration with Stack's Family Farm, and I got my 10-year anniversary in May, so we're going to throw some parties at the bar here pretty soon.
Well, I can't wait. And later this afternoon as well, if you're a follower of our Facebook group page or even our Twitter feed, I'll put it on all the social media outlets. You'll have a chance to get yourself a free lunch from the recovery room. We're using a new sweepstakes widget. Last week, we had Eagle McBride win a free lunch to the Recov, and this week, perhaps it will be you. So stay tuned to all our social feeds for that. We'll come back tomorrow here on the Sports Carnival. Should be an interesting one. We'll be kicking off the XFL season. We might find out who is getting tagged in the NFL. I don't think there's going to be a ton of tags. I'm kind of with you on this, but who knows? Maybe Lamar Jackson gets himself tagged, and then the quarterback dominoes really start to fall. Y'all have a great rest of your day. We'll see you in the morning.